notepad. If you need notepads, I've got these sticky notes here. Anybody want sticky notes? Yeah. There you go. There you go. And I've got markers there too if you need them. All right. Anybody else? All right. Yeah. There you go. Excellent. Well, hey everyone. Thank you very much for joining me today. My name is Chris Atwell. Many of you likely know me from client calls, discovery calls, LinkedIn posts, trade shows, customer events, whatever it might be. But I wanted to just give you a little understanding of who I am before I jump into this workshop. So I work directly with manufacturers, reps, agency owners on developing their strategic leadership skills, on developing high-performing teams, creating systems and processes, and I believe that I'm the premier partner for that sort of work in this industry. And my background comes from all kinds of cool stuff that's related to the industry. So I started my career, my sales career, working in transportation and logistics. I worked with a company called Purolator in Canada, which is the UPS of Canada. Totally got deep into understanding how to provide solutions to customers, getting products from point A to point B in critical time, and selling on a day-to-day and running a business. From there, I went to Grainger. So I went from logistics to wholesale. And everyone knows who Grainger is, right? They're probably the biggest wholesaler in the world. And my job was national accounts. I managed a lot of general contractor accounts, a lot of industrial mining accounts, manufacturers, and totally got to understand what it was like offering supply solutions. So that background in logistics played a big part in helping me add more value. And then from there, I went to work for a manufacturer. I worked for Camplas, which is an IPEX company. And I developed the technical sales division within that organization. Brought products that were newly developed and innovative into market through specification. And I worked directly with manufacturers reps across North America to do that. And I built a team of technical salespeople, market development specialists, and really enjoyed that. That's where my journey with manufacturers reps started. And I started to really understand the challenges that this industry is faced with by partnering with you. From there, I went and worked for ITW, which is Illinois Tool Works, based out of Chicago again. And they're a manufacturer of construction fasteners. I worked for their construction division. They also do welding and automotive fasteners and polymers and fluids and all kinds of other stuff. But my role was really around, hey Graham, my role was national sales manager. I managed the commercial sales team. I reported directly to the president of the business and had to coach and develop my team into high performers, track projects effectively, manage opportunities, make sure that everyone is skilling up on a regular basis and that they're focused on the right things at the right time so that we could generate accelerated results. Because as you can imagine, publicly traded companies, they like results and they like growth, whether that's organic or not. And my approach was always around strategic initiatives. I always had my thumb on, okay, what are the trends in the market? What sort of organic growth can I expect? But what am I really going to deliver? And the only way that I could deliver that was through data and backing everything up. Because large corporations, they want to see the data when you make a claim. So if I say that we're going to grow by 12%, I got to prove it to them. And that's where CRM came in. I've been using CRM systems for over a decade, maybe 15 years. I'm familiar with a ton of them. I've rolled out Salesforce. I've used HubSpot. Very familiar with RepFabric in this industry. And my experience using them is from customizing them to meet the needs of my sales team so that we're tracking projects efficiently, so that we're identifying opportunities. We understand what the max potential is in the market if we were to convert every single end user over to our products. And then holding the team accountable to focusing on the right opportunities at the right time and updating it and getting engagement and having them use the data that's available in there to plan, to forecast, to be in the right places at the right time with the right people. And now that I'm working as a consultant for manufacturers reps, I see this need everywhere. There's an increased need for adoption with CRM systems, particularly for organizations that have already rolled them out and invested in them and aren't necessarily getting all the value that they can out of it. But also there's increased demand by manufacturers. Manufacturers want more data every single day, your partners. And they want to know what your team's doing. Who are you working on? Why, when, where, what project? What's the impact going to be if I sell all this product to this one project and then I'm out of inventory? There's a lot of reasons why manufacturers want to have this data if they can, so they can forecast as well. But the real thing is that it's not about that at the core. At the core, it's about efficiency and productivity. So if you can get your team to use the system in a way where they get value from it, rather than thinking that it's just an additional mundane task in their day-to-day, and it's actually helping them, that's the trick. And these CRM systems, they don't train you on that stuff, right? These CRM systems have amazing platforms, and they're great at rolling it out into your business and loading up the data and giving you the video tutorial so you can figure out how to use the system, but they don't coach you on the peak performance sales habits. They don't coach you on what you need within your each individual unique business that's going to help drive productivity with your team. So what I'm hoping to achieve today is I'm going to give you some insights around how you can maximize the potential of your CRM system, whether you're considering implementing one today, or you've got one in place, or you're not using one at all. Maybe you're using a spreadsheet. That's fine. The idea is still the same. There's value in the data, and that's what it's all about. There's a myriad of challenges out there. I touched on a few of them briefly. But what we're really seeing is that organizations are spending money. They're investing in this IT. They're investing in this software. And that investment can be wasted if the system's not being used. Right? You're paying for licenses for all your salespeople to use the system. If that person isn't inputting any information or mining the data to his advantage, what's the point of paying for a license? I mean, we all have a Spotify account, right? We all have a YouTube account, premium. Who doesn't have premium YouTube now? Come on. We all have Disney Plus. We all have, it's all the same concept, right? It's this membership type stuff, but it costs organizations money to have these systems in place. Merkle Group released a report, and look at that figure. 63%, based on their research, of CRM projects, from an implementation standpoint, fail. Let that sink in. A lot of reasons why. If you're implementing this system and it's not getting used, that's considered a failure, right? And when you implement those, there's an expectation that everyone is going to use it. And adoption rates are referred to as if a user who has this access to the system is using it regularly. Okay? So it's kind of like, is he clicking the buttons on the system? But if CRM adoption rates are less than 75%, there's a huge difference in sales team performance versus those who are. Okay? The difference is almost 3.5 times. There's some significant data out there suggesting that. The fact is, though, that less than 40% of companies who have CRM systems have adoption rates greater than 90%. And that's the magic number. You want people to be using them almost 100% of the time, right? To get the best out of the system. Same with your quoting system, same with everything. You need people to use it, right? To take the benefit. But if only 40% of companies are using it full time, the ones who are using it are the ones who have the advantage. There was a survey done, I think this one was from Career Builder, where 43% of respondents use less than half of the functionalities in the system. So they're using it, they're inputting tasks or activity calls. But there's so much more than that available to the system. You have the ability to, if you've got sales reporting tied into it, mine that information. You have the ability to build really robust opportunity pipelines and scrub that and identify max potential of your market. You have project tracking, you've got goal setting, you've got task management, you've got integrations with Outlook so you can do all, connect all of your files. You've got cloud information where you can attach all the quotes and the contracts and all these things with your clients so that you have this robust customer relationship management system. But only 45% of respondents, or only about half, are actually using the system to its full potential. So why is it so hard to get people to use the system? Any ideas? Anybody want to chime in?
Big learning curve for a lot of people, and they're already feeling stretched thin.
Yeah.
And I think you got to learn this whole new system. There's some people that see that as a big learning curve, but it also feels like micromanagement. So they're hesitant to want to jump in and tackle the learning curve side.
I think the biggest thing they don't get the results that CRM
Right. They don't see the value in it. Yeah. Seems like more just an extra work for them.
It's a make work project.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's the perception.
That's
Yeah.
the perception.
Right.
I was just going to say change. Everyone needs change.
Mm.
And, back to what everyone else is saying is, are they getting out of it more than they're putting into it? And if they do, they'll use it. But if they don't, or they feel it's a big one project, then they won't.
Yeah. Oh, you guys hit really clear examples there. A lot of the times, there's many things that you can do with the system. It's multifaceted, right? You could track opportunities, you could track activities, you could track your tasks. And because of that, the perception is that it's more work. So people avoid using it. When really it's a productivity tool. It can help you. There are some significant communication gaps as well that when I say this is that I'm looking at this not only from a challenge of getting the system adoption, but also why you need a CRM system. And one of them is that you've got manufacturers that have a lot of needs that you can add value to with them. So that using the system to track information that makes it easy as the line champion, for example, to communicate with the manufacturer what's going on in the business without having to call each one of your sales reps to get the update before your call with the manufacturer. Again, efficiencies, productivities. There's so many features that aren't getting used. We know that. But one of the biggest challenges that we see in the use of systems is there's just inaccurate data. Right? You want to make sure that the data is clean and that it's consistent. And that's a big challenge. How do you do that? Well, these systems can help. Another challenge is training. Somebody was mentioning, right? It's new, it's different, it's a change. How are you going to fit in the training? What kind of training do you want to give people? Do you want to give them the training just on the functionalities of the system? What kind of training can you give them to learn how they get value out of the system? There's a myriad of challenges. I can go on all day about this stuff, but I'm just highlighting a few. And when those challenges present themselves, there's certainly a negative impact. The one that really sticks out for me, being a salesperson at heart, is it's the missed opportunities. It's those sales that you can miss if you're not tracking properly, if you're not efficient, if you're being pulled in multiple directions, if you're not focused on the right opportunities at the right time. So I've worked with CRM systems, as I mentioned. And back in 2017, when I was at ITW, we had implemented a new business development program. I brought on some engineers to go out and specify the product. The challenge we were having was keeping track of all the lunch and learns, understanding which engineers were specifying the product, because we were getting everything from Construct Connect, prioritizing the activities, and then forecasting out to my boss, hey, because I'm running this program, he wants to know how much it's going to generate in the next 5 years. So what I did was, by using the CRM, and at the time I was using Salesforce, I had my engineer mine all the data out of Construct Connect, put it into a format in a spreadsheet that allowed them to understand who are the top specifying engineers in the country for our products based on the data. Attach a formula to all the projects that are in Construct Connect to identify what the potential for our product is. Dump that into the CRM so that we could run some reports. I could have done it all on a spreadsheet, but now it's all there. Anytime that my engineers were going out and doing lunch and learns, and we had a stage gate, right? So much like the sales process, where you qualify a lead and then you move it through the sales cycle, we were doing the same with engineers, where you're doing a lunch and learn, they're giving you a verbal that they're going to add the product to their spec library, and then you see the hard spec, right? And that's when you know that you've got really increased potential for the sale. So then we would move that from a spec opportunity to actual trackable engineering spec. Make a long story short, I was able to, by capturing all this data, prove to my boss that, and it took time, it took about 18 months to start really collecting this data. That doesn't happen immediately, but after about 18 months, I could see the trends in the marketplace of what our increase in specification rate was on our products based on projects that were showing up in the system, and we were translating it into the CRM. And I could attach a number to each one of those specs, and then we would track when that project would actually go to bid, if it was quoted, if the product got purchased and installed, and who the contractor was. So this whole process allowed me to have this visibility on a trend, which allowed me to forecast. And then every month, we would level set and reevaluate the data. And I was able to prove, look, boss, at this rate, we're going to grow the business by 5.5 million in the next 5 years. Because we understood our close ratios, we understood our spec ratio, and we understood our quote rates, and we understood our conversion ratios with our end users. So the CRM, with its relationships that it builds within the system, allowed me to tell the story. That's one example. Another example that I've helped manufacturers reps with is opportunity max potential. So there's an agency out of Atlanta that I've worked with closely for the last 2 years. He's grown 20% year over year in the last 2.5 years. And one of the first exercises we did when I consulted with him was to analyze the information that's in his CRM system. He had his goals set out, and then I said, okay, how are you going to get there? Well, I'm tracking all the opportunities in the CRM. Okay. What we quickly realized was that there wasn't enough opportunities in the CRM to support the growth that he was looking for. So we came up with a strategy and worked with his team, and I conducted a group training for his team where they sat down, looked at market dynamics, and started identifying the perfect opportunities and filling the pipeline with leads, with the contractors that they know fit the mold of the perfect contractor for them to go after within the strategic initiatives that they're focused on, those lines that they know are going to have the biggest bang for their buck. And by doing that, he was able to conduct an analysis and identify with a level of confidence. Now he's got millions of dollars in opportunity in the pipeline, but it's there, it's visible, it's documented. Having a conversation with his sales team, identify what the level of confidence is. You know, there's $2 million in opportunity. We're confident that we can close 50% of it. Perfect. There's $1 million of growth. Then he can sort his opportunity pipeline specific to the opportunities that he knows he needs to go after to close $1 million in business. So that data, super valuable. Now the team is tracking those opportunities in the pipeline, and on a regular ongoing basis, the sales manager is supporting each sales member on their initiative to go after these opportunities. So there's accountability, and there's results. When they close, they ring the bell. The system actually does this really cool digital like firecracker, right? You won the business. That's awesome. Everybody's, you know, yay. But it's assisting them in being far more productive, efficient, and it allows them to make data-driven decision-making rather than just following their gut all the time and getting caught in the inertia of day-to-day. So I'm going to ask everyone here to take a moment and read these questions and think about them and reflect. How has data inaccuracy affected your decision making in the past? You know, the question on the right, can you recall a specific instance where a missed opportunity was tied to ineffective CRM utilization? I would even challenge you to think deeper on that and say, can you recall a specific instant where you missed an opportunity in general? And how could a CRM have helped you? Anyone want to share what comes up for them when we ask the question around data inaccuracy? How has data inaccuracy affected your decision making in the past? Sure.
I think that one which was challenged with any of the price increases and price changes, using that CRM for your billing process. If the team doesn't have confidence in one of the manufacturers because they've got stung where it's been not the right information, then it impacts how aggressive they will be in according to going after that business. So that accuracy of everything that's in there from a pricing standpoint is essential, so you can see that.
Yeah. Anyone else ever got stung with inaccurate data somewhere? Whether that's pricing or project information? Yes, Sita.
Well, what we have a lot of times, we send out codes that are they're the same codes, but they're different. The reason behind it is either the name wasn't right or the address wasn't right, so it's like
Double work.
duplication
Yeah.
of work that we put in already, just because the project is
Yeah. Oh, imagine, right? You're literally quoting the same project multiple times and not even noticing. Imagine if you had a system that could help put the pieces together and be like, hey, wait a second here, we've already done this. We don't need to do this again. So then you can apply your resources to a new opportunity. Great example. Thank you for sharing. What about when it comes to accountability? So I have this question on the bottom. In what ways has the lack of accountability impacted your team's performance and motivation? And the reason I bring that question up is because we talked about, seems like it's extra work or it's micromanaging, these kinds of things, but really at the end of the day, there's value in it, and we have a shared accountability if we're implementing these systems. But in general, if you think about accountability in your business, how has that, if any, how has the lack of accountability affected your business? Got anything, Frank?
Things just don't get done.
Right. Hey.
If I think he's doing it, he thinks he's doing it, he thinks he's doing it. Everybody expects the admin to do it. She doesn't think she's supposed to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't get done.
Yeah. Accountability is very related to communication, right? Yeah.
And just to add to that, I mean, there's the internal side of it, that's, you know, Sid said, we send all these quotes out to our customers. And you expect that they're doing something with them as well, but the reality of it is, the volume of quotes they have, they don't really have that vested interest, at least in our market.
Right.
Because they're putting so much out there, you know, but you think they're following up on these opportunities, but not. So, you know, that as well. You know, accountability expectation of the customer as well, as to how you follow up on it.
Right. I mean, you know that there's multiple touch points in the quote process, right? And manufacturer to the manufacturer's rep to the wholesaler to the end user. I mean, you might do 10 quotes a day. The wholesaler might do 100 quotes a day. Of your 10, the manufacturer knows about 2. Of the wholesaler's 100, you know about 20. And so there's certainly an accountability piece that if we had a shared accountability and we can improve that communication, your success rates of closing business would probably go up because you're following up appropriately. You're at least following up on the right opportunities, right? Not every single one, but the ones that make sense. Great example. Yeah. Thank you. So, let's get into some tips and tricks, right? Many of you have implemented systems. Many of you are looking at them. I could talk about entire programs and trainings that I could do to help you see higher adoption rates, but I'm going to simplify things in today's workshop because we're only here for a certain amount of time. But the first, most important thing that I recommend to all of my clients, and some of you have been privy to this, is asking you, who's going to be in charge? Who's going to be the champion in making sure that you're rolling out the system, that you're customizing it, that you're getting feedback from your team, and that people are being held accountable? Because quite frankly, it can't always be the owner of the business that does everything himself. So step number 1 is identifying a team, an internal team. Who are your champions going to be? It doesn't have to be one person. It doesn't have to be a group, but you want somebody involved. The benefit to that is that it allows everyone who's working on the system to skill up. You start thinking more strategically, right? Because they're looking at things from a different perspective now. I'm not the one who just needs to input. I'm the one who has to make sure that the system is optimized. That's cool, right? So step number 1, identify and assign some champions. Step number 2, outside of the training that the provider is going to offer you, identify some resources where you can get training specific to the people who are using the system that's going to help them get value out of it. What I mean by that is, you got a sales team, right? Your sales team, what's their job? What's the seller's job? His number 1 job? Right, make sales. So imagine if you had a training that showed salespeople how they can use the CRM system to make more sales. That's where I'm going with this. The third piece is make sure that you understand how you want to customize the system internally for yourself. Because a lot of these systems come out the box, and then they come to you and they say, well, what features do you want to use? Which modules are you going to find useful for your business? But if you haven't taken a step back, identified champions, and thought about the future forward, what do you want to use this system for, you're not going to be able to customize and integrate it properly. I mentioned my story when I hired some BDMs at ITW, and I needed to forecast out 5 years from now how much spec business is going to drive revenue for the business. Well, I had to customize the system to track opportunities in a different way, not through the sales cycle that's standard in the system, but in my way, the way that was going to benefit the business and my team. So I customized it. You want to make sure that you have a system, that you have structure, that you have the discipline instilled in your team to input data on a regular basis, whether that's sales reports from your manufacturers, for example, right? Whether that's updating project opportunities, newly specified projects, whether that's end user opportunities or wholesaler opportunities. So having a structure and a regular ongoing process that's going to remind people or have people do these things is ultra important. And that's where the champions come in. You've got a champion who inputs the sales data. You've got a champion who inputs the project data. You've got the individual champions who input the opportunities. And when I talk about reporting and analytics, what I mean here is that you want to instill a regular approach to having your team members use the reporting, analyze the data. Not just you as the leaders of the organization, but at the sales level as well. So by having something like a bi-weekly team meeting or a monthly meeting that most of you are probably having, or even a one-on-one, have the team show up with information. What did you close recently? Show me in a report. What are you working on in the next week? Show me a report and where you are in the sales cycle. What support do you need from me? And what are you forecasting in the next month, quarter, based on the opportunities in your pipeline? Talk about a way to get people focused. So by having a system where data is being inputted correctly and accurately on a regular basis, champions to do so, and coaching your individual contributors to utilize the reporting and the analytics to make decisions, super powerful. And that creates collaboration. We talked about the duplicate projects quoting a moment ago, right? Well, if you've got a centralized location for all this information, your quotes team, the sales team, customer service team at some point could all collaborate on the same opportunity to make sure that things are getting done. So you want to make sure that you have regular meetings. Give people a chance to collaborate and use the system together. Those of you who know me know that I'm big on goals, goal setting. So another thing that you want to do is when you're implementing these systems, or it doesn't even matter, on an annual basis, you want to set goals around the existing systems and processes you have in place, including CRM systems. So set those goals. Set them for yourself so you know, this year, I want to integrate it with customer service. This year, I want to add more project density in here. But also, from an individual sales team contributor standpoint, have their revenue targets clearly defined. Any of their, maybe you want them to do 75 engineering calls, lunch and learns this year. Maybe you want, these kinds of things. But you can input these goals into the system so that now they're using the system to track the progress. And you as the leader can leverage it to help hold them accountable and measure their progress. But most importantly, support them in reaching those goals. Does that make sense? So if I could leave you with 3, because there's a lot here, with 3 of these tips. The first one is assign a champion, or 2 or 3, a team. The second is get them some training on value-based training. What's in it for them for using the CRM. And that's going to be resourced externally. And figure out what it is exactly you want to customize the system to do. Those are the top 3. All right. When you assign a champion, you see an increased adoption right away. You know how team members are, right? If you pick the right champion, he's going to hold everybody accountable. He's going to take it to heart. He's going to get passionate about it, he or she. But that person becomes the go-to resource at the same time. So if anybody's having challenges, you can help them out. So ask yourself now, on your team, who could your champion or champions be? Do you have one? Who could that person be? The piece around value-based selling, value-based CRM training, again, that is to help your team, because we know that CRMs really focus on the sales contributors, right? Help them see the value in the system. What's in it for them? How are they going to be able to use the system to increase sales, increase productivity and efficiency, and make better decisions in their day-to-day? When you do that, engagement increases, they see the benefits, and adoption rates go up. So ask yourself, what would my strategy be around helping my team see the value in the system, rather than just tell them, I need you to put in activity reports, please. Elaborating on the customization again. Ultimately, it's about aligning your sales process and the needs of your team with the system. Keyword, needs of your team. These systems benefit organizations, most certainly. But if you can identify the needs of your sales team, the needs of your engineers, the needs of your quotes team, whatever it is, and then come up with a solution within the system to help them, that's how you customize. that should be the priority. It streamlines workflows, and it creates traction. Because now they're like, oh yeah, I've got this tool to help me. So the best way to do that is have a town hall or put together a survey. Ask a lot of questions. What would you like to see in the system? What would help you? What do you hate about it? What could we do differently? What works well? Those kinds of things. And then build around that. Because a lot of these systems have flexibility tailored into them. And you can move things around. So what does successful customization look like for your business? You want to facilitate data-driven decision making. We all know the power of data. We know it. Some of us might be resistant to it. That's fine. It doesn't change the fact that data rules. The more accurate your data, the more relevant that data is to your business and your process, and it meets the needs of your team to increase results, the better you can get at decision making. And what I mean by that is resourcing your limited resources in the right places at the right time. You know, I'll give you an example. I was doing a group training for a company out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and I had them pull sales reports out of their CRM and evaluate each one of their top customers and tell me, what do your top customers look like, and which customers are driving 80% of your business. Pull it out in a report and line them up right here in this column. Great. Now go to your activity reports and pull up the companies that you did 80% of your calls last year. Line them up in this column. And lo and behold, how many activity reports do you think they did were directly related to the top companies that generate the majority of their revenue? It was way off. There was no correlation. So here they are, spinning their wheels, spending time with all of these distributors, which, I mean, you got to spend time with everyone, I get that, but it's how much time you're spending with them. Recognizing that in some cases, a territory sales guy was spending almost 60% of his total time in one area that was generating $2,000 a year in business. When really, thought process becomes, if he would have spent that 60% with his high-performing wholesalers, how much more could he have grown that business? Understanding which lever to pull, right? How much more product could I sell this guy? He's rocking, right? So the data helps increase performance because all of a sudden it sheds visibility on the inefficiencies, which it's not to punish anyone. That's the thing. It's not to micromanage. It's to help them become better so that they're doing the right things, right? He was going there because that was the loudest wholesaler that would call him every day. That's why he was going there. Not because it was full of opportunities, because that guy's like, I need your help. Come over here. Hey, hey. It's always the loudest that wins, right? We know that. We've all fallen down that trap, right? So now he's shifted the way that he approaches his business. And his sales manager is holding him accountable to making sure that he's pointed in the right direction all the time through reviews and weekly meetings. Hey man, how's it going? Oh, guess what? That guy stopped calling me. That pain in my ass is gone. Right on. And look, I just secured a huge new PO with this initiative with my big wholesaler, right? So, does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. when you implement these systems, you want to foster an environment where everyone is sharing knowledge, collaborating, and working together. And you can do that through your monthly meetings, for example. Right? Every month, hey, can I have, Frank, can you put together all the opportunities for manufacturer A and talk about them and share them in our team meeting, please? And you do that line and you do that line. All of a sudden, there's some collaboration because they've got all this information. They're going to learn more and they're going to be able to share and maybe come up with some strategies to work together because they're going to identify opportunities once they start understanding how to read the story that the data is telling them. Right? Tell me what the sales were last year versus this year for line A. What are the top opportunities, in which territories, and what support you would recommend you give to the rest of the team. These kinds of things, right? You could have your champions organize quarterly feedback calls. Hey guys, let's sit down. I want to talk about the system, all the updates that we've done to it, but most importantly, I want to know what's working, what's not, and how we can improve it. And then create a parking lot, a wish list, of all the things that you want to see improved in the system over time. And then come up with a plan to execute. That's where the goal setting comes in, right? Not only can you create a plan and set goals around how to improve the system, but if you are clear on what your strategic initiatives are for the year, right? Which lines are going to generate that growth that you're looking for this year? Which ones are you going to sell more to your wholesalers? Which ones are going to sell through project focus and need X amount of specs? Which ones are new and innovative and we're going to pioneer? Well, you can set that all up in the system and measure how far you're coming along day to day rather than wait for the reports from your manufacturers and compile it. Because the system will update itself and you can create dashboards that show you, right? Line A, our goal was 10 million. Look guys, it's midway through the year. We're exceeding by 20%. Keep it up. Let's go. Celebrate. A couple of questions for you. How can assigning a CRM champion benefit your team today? How can it benefit adoption and utilization?
Make sure everybody's aligned in the right direction. In the same direction, not the right direction.
Right. Yeah. Everyone's being held accountable and working towards the same initiatives. Beautiful. I met with a manufacturer's rep yesterday for lunch. And I asked him, I said, what's your biggest challenge right now? He said, Chris, I want to move my organization from my remote sales workers, right? Because everybody works from home in different parts of the state. From being selfish, he's like, I hate that term, but just focused on their own performance, to working on the overall company performance. Get them more as like feeling like everyone's contributing to the same initiative. Absolutely, a champion can help with that. And in what ways can CRM training be tailored? We talk about training people on using the CRM, but in your perspective, what would you tailor the training to to provide value to your sales rep? What do you think would be important to train them on?
I would say understanding outputs that can help them with their job. So we'll see what they're gonna get out of it first, then we'll see why it's important to get. If you're trying to collaborate across your teams, then their inputs will also provide outputs for them.
So how to tell the story with the outputs, with the reporting, with the data?
For that, yeah. That's gonna help them.
For them, exactly. Yeah. Sina, what would you like to see in CRM training?
Well, the biggest thing is because then the opportunity is mixed. Nobody knows it. But if you have a CRM that puts it one then
Yeah. Show of hands. Who knows what their opportunity close ratio is right now? Show of hands. How much money are you working on closing at this very moment right now? Imagine having that information handy. I'm working on $1 million. And with my close ratio of 30%, I'm confident I'm going to close $300K by the end of the month. Huge difference, right? So, training people on how to use that data to their advantage so they can leverage the system so they can make decisions and be more knowledgeable about where they should be spending their time and how much they can forecast and make a ton of money. That's what it's all about. Not miss any opportunities, right? How can you improve your close ratio? Analyzing all the opportunities that you lost. Why? What could I do better? What went right? Shifting, strategic mindset, being proactive. You're building a culture of leaders by helping them make data-driven decisions using CRM. Most important thing when it comes to any CRM adoption is regular communication and feedback. All right, so you want to make sure that you're aligned. You mentioned alignment. You want to make sure that everyone's planning and transparent, and that there's ongoing communication and that you're measuring progress. So the best way to do that is to have a structured meeting framework, whether that's one-on-one, weekly or bi-weekly with the individual contributors, where you're giving 2x2 feedback, and structured in a way that you're taking a few minutes to look back at what happened in their day-to-day. What are they working on now, being the meat and potatoes of that meeting? Where do they need your support so that you can give them guidance and help them achieve their goals? Anybody here know what 2x2 framework is? Do you know what the 2x2 framework is, Daryl? So what I mean by that is in every one-on-one interaction with your team members, you should be thinking, how can I help them continuously learn? And the easy way to do that is by asking 2 questions. Whether it's a meeting, or it's what happened this week, or it was an opportunity lost or closed. What do you think went really well in that particular situation? They give you their feedback. What do you think? Question number 2, you could do better next time. Easy as that. Remember those 2 questions. What went well? What could you do better? By being disciplined and asking those questions all the time around everything in your business, not just CRM, you're going to see continuous improvement. Awesome. So key takeaways here. Look, there's a myriad of challenges. Right? You guys have so much that you need to do in your day-to-day. tracking projects, tracking opportunities, activity calls, you name it, goals, revenue reporting, forecasting. Well, with a CRM, you can customize and integrate all that stuff. But the key is, you got to get clear on what it is that you want the system to do. There's communication gaps with manufacturers. Well, with a system like a CRM, if you input data regularly, and you have champions who are putting in the sales data, and you've got reporting and analytics practices and ongoing accountability frameworks in place with your team members, you're going to get consistent activity calls put in there. You're going to get consistent forecasted revenue and close ratios that you can share with your manufacturers, and that adds a ton of value. There's a lot of features that aren't being used. Remember that. And that's where having a champion and customizing the system are going to help encourage more of those features being used. But you need to identify the needs of your sales team and what the existing processes are to do that. By setting goals, you can create consistency. And by training your team on what's in it for them, understanding how they can make decisions with the reporting, this kind of stuff, you're gonna train them to use the system instead of resist it. So, if I could leave you with one thing today, is I want you to write down one actionable step, one thing that you took away from today that you're going to use to enhance your CRM adoption in your agency. Just one. And if anyone would like to share what that one thing is, I would love that. It's a very engineering thing to say. Yes.
Hence.
Yeah, quantifiable. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the biggest gap, I think. Like a lot of us, we go out, talk to the engineers, talk to the contractors. We outline what we have to offer, but we don't know what we are actually closing.
Yeah.
Not just closing rate, but specifically what are the things that are aligned with that specific manufacturer, specific contractor, specific engineer. Yeah. I think that gap needs to be closed. But to close that, you need something to quantify or not essentially.
Yeah. So what's your actionable step around that? What are you going to do?
Well, I guess the first thing is evaluate where we are with every salesperson. To know what is their approach. And then based on that, essentially tailor, I would call it experience for the CRM system to essentially work better rather than thinking they're more knowledge.
So you're going to get their feedback on what it is they need in the
I think that
system.
would be the first step.
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't say first step. First step is for them, like, give them an overview of what CRM could do, give them time to go back and then come back to you with feedback of how we could essentially use that from their perspective.
What their needs are. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Anyone else want to share?
Yeah, I wrote down just kind of like a theme almost, but using the data to tell a story, right? So not only to our manufacturers, but to our people. That was a big takeaway, was just use it to tell a story on how they can increase their success rate and their personal success in the sales cycle.
Yeah.
Tell the story of origin to close.
Yeah.
And those other opportunities.
Yeah, I remember when I implemented Salesforce at ITW, I was big into looking at the stories. The challenge was my team being able to tell me the story. So I had to shift and challenge them. And in my one-on-ones, I would say, I want you to come, put together a report, tell me what you see. No judgment. I just want to gain an understanding of what it is you are able to get out of this. And from there, okay, I'll help you get, look, do you see this? Do you see that? So that they can build their skill sets. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Beautiful. So, my organization offers resources and support when it comes through implementing CRM systems. All right, so just a snapshot of what that would look like and what I've done for other companies is there's 3 different angles that I take. The first one is from a champion standpoint or from an owner standpoint, individual coaching, one-on-one. Understanding what your goals are, what your vision is, where you're at today, where you want to go, and work with you, personalize that to help you implement these systems to the full potential that they deserve. I also offer a service around team collaboration calls, so if you do have champions on board, get together with the owner, get together with the champions, and share knowledge, what's working, what's not. Give you my perspectives around making sure that everything stays aligned and you don't lose track, but that you have goals in place and that they're quantifiable. And I also offer a boot camp that helps sales teams understand the value in the system. How can they tell the story with the data? How do they prioritize their time now that they've seen this information? It's very hands-on. The thing I love about it the most is that they stoke that pipeline so full of opportunities that they start getting an understanding of what the true max potential is in their business. Like, man, I didn't realize that there was $20 million in business out here that I could go get, and how am I going to go get just 10% of that? Develop the strategy to do it and track it in the CRM as a tool to keep them pointing in the right direction so that their success rate increases. And they're thinking strategically rather than get caught up in the day-to-day. And that's all done in 2 settings, either in person or virtual. So I hope everyone found this workshop insightful, and I invite you to reach out anytime. If you have any questions or you want to run ideas by me, you need a soundboard, I'm here for you. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time.